This is the story of Ella Kate, the true story of a real giant. Oh, and there it shows Ella's shoe size, 24, actual size. Stand Straight, Ella Kate, the true story of a real giant by Kate Kleiss, pictures by M. Sarah Kleiss. For dreamers, big and small. Most tall tales are made up, but my tall tale is true. I was a giant, a real live giant. I wasn't born tall. I was a little baby just like any other, born in 1872. Mama and Papa named me Ella Kate. When I was still small, Papa went to the bank and borrowed money to buy a farm in a place called Rainbow, Missouri. He built a cabin from trees he cut with his own two hands. We were a little family, just Mama, Papa, and me. But I didn't stay little for long. When I was 7, I started growing at a most startling rate. Mama couldn't sew dresses fast enough to keep up, so she started adding fabric to the bottom of my favorite dress. "Stand straight, Ella Kate," Mama said when she was fixing my hem. But when Mama wasn't looking, I hunched my back, so I'd look smaller. At school, I struggled mightily to fit my long legs under my desk, so Papa built a big desk for me. He brought it to school in a wagon pulled by horses. "Stand straight, Ella Kate, show off your new desk," Papa said with pride. I guess he couldn't see how mortified I was. No other girl in my school needed a special desk or wore shoes as big as her paws, men's size 12. My best friend was a girl named Pearl. Just like her name, Pearl was small and beautiful. When I got teased at recess on account of my size, Pearl suggested we run away. "We'll hide you in a secret place where no one can find you," she said. She was only trying to be nice, but where could I hide? I was too big for everything. I was too big for the world. When I was 13, I stood almost 6 feet tall. My classmates chose me to recite the Declaration of Independence at a big 4th of July celebration. I was surprised and honored. People from 3 counties would be there. I practiced for weeks. When it was time, I walked out on stage and began to recite the famous words. But I stopped cold when I heard voices from the crowd. "Would you look at that girl?" cried one man. "She's as tall as a barn." "Her hands are as big as skillets," laughed a woman. "I'll tell you what that girl is," yelled a boy. "She's a freak." I ran off the stage in tears. Mama was upset too, but she waited to cry until I'd gone to bed. "Don't worry," Papa said. "No one's ever treating Ella Kate that way again. We'll keep her safe inside this house for as long as she lives." From my bed I listened, wishing I could climb inside the big night sky and hide there forever. But I kept growing. By the age of 16, I was 7 feet tall. At 17, I was a foot taller. One day a man visited our farm. He managed a museum in Chicago. "I hear you have a daughter who stands 8 feet tall," the man said. "My customers would pay good money to see that, and I'd gladly pay Miss Ella Kate for her time." Papa got mad. "Nobody's paying money to gawk at our girl," he fumed. But something in me trusted the man. "I believe I'll take that job," I said. And so, when I was 18, my parents and I boarded the train to Chicago. For 1 month, I wore a long dress and a serious expression for 7 hours a day while people stared at me. I made $1,000, which was a whole lot of money in 1890. Back then, you could buy 12 pencils and a bottle of ink for 1 dime. The following year, I received a letter from the man in Chicago asking me to return to his museum. This time, he wanted me to come for 5 months. He would pay me $5,000. "5 months," protested Papa. "That's too long." "I don't mind," I said. "Mama can come with me. Besides, $5,000 is nothing to sneeze at, Papa. It's more than you could make in 5 years of farming." This was true, and Papa knew it. He laughed. I was becoming better at business than he was. I returned to Chicago in 1891, and for the next 6 years, I traveled the country. I appeared in museums, exhibitions, traveling circus shows, and even a World's Fair. People paid 10 cents to see me stand in my fancy dresses. You couldn't blame folks for staring. After all, when I finally stopped growing at the age of 22, I stood a towering 8 feet 4 inches tall in my size 24 shoes. My hands were also impressive. Once I removed a ring from my finger and gave it to a baby to wear as a bracelet. It fit perfectly. Other times I held a $1,000 bill in my hand. Anyone who could reach the money unassisted was welcome to take it. No one ever did. After I made enough money, I went back to Rainbow. The first thing I did was visit the bank that had lent Papa the money to buy our farm. I paid off the debt. I figured it was the least I could do to thank Papa and Mama for all they'd done for me. Then I did something for myself. I bought some land and started building a house. I paid workers with my own money and told them to build my house with tall ceilings and high windows. I ordered custom-built furniture. Finally, I had a house in which I could stand up straight without stooping. I had the longest bed in town. I even ordered a custom-made buggy and bought a strong horse to pull it. Friends and neighbors like to visit me at my new house. They always ask to hear about my travels. I told them about the big cities and the newfangled automobiles I'd seen. I described the mountains and oceans. I even imitated the tigers and elephants that appeared with me in the circus. Most of my friends had never left home or seen such things. But the more I talked about my travels, the more I missed them. So after I finished my house, I returned to work. I enjoyed my days as a circus show star. Sometimes my unusual size came in handy. When I was introduced to Mr. Charles Ringling at a dinner party in 1907, I was able to shake his hand without moving from my place at the end of the table. My friend Little Lord Robert thought that was a fine and dandy trick. Another time when a bellboy brought ice water to my hotel room, instead of opening the door, I reached through the transom and retrieved the pitcher from his hands. I hope I didn't give him too much of a fright. I always tried to be respectful, and I found that most people were respectful in turn. Of course, there was always one person in every crowd who couldn't resist making a cruel joke about my appearance. More than one rude spectator stuck my leg with a pin to see if I stood on stilts. When that happened, I just whispered to myself what Papa and Mama had always told me when I was growing up. Stand straight, Ella Kate. The more I said it, the better I felt. The more I saw of the world, the more I wanted to see, because as big as I was, the world was so much bigger, and I intended to see it all. And the note from the author says Ella's condition, known today as gigantism, was poorly understood by the doctors of the day, who didn't know how to treat a gland disorder. After she began to grow at an abnormal rate, Ella suffered serious emotional distress. By all accounts, she was a shy, sensitive girl who disliked the attention her unusual appearance attracted. But as she grew older, Ella discovered that the very thing that made her cry as a child also made it possible for her to lead a remarkable life. Ella Ewing never married or had children. She died in 1913 at the age of 40. Her house burned to the ground in 1967, but by then, even Rainbow, Missouri had disappeared from the map. Fortunately, those who knew Ella found a fitting way to remember her. Not far from the home Ella built in Scotland County, Missouri, rests Ella Ewing Lake. Dedicated in 1969, the large reflective body of water is an appropriate tribute to the quiet woman still known in Missouri as the Gentle Giantess. And there's her actual photograph right there. That's from the book Stand Straight, Ella Kate.